Hey, welcome back to Car Talks, where I rant, ramble, rave, word vomit my thoughts on life, fitness, training, and the use of RPE in young athletes, and why over the years I've come to realize it's probably not the best idea, or not necessarily not the best idea, but it's not probably the most optimal training method that we can use. Conversely, using percentages also isn't the best thing to use sometimes. So there's some tricky little waters you got to wade with younger athletes or new trainees. All right, and one of those things is the fact that most of them don't know what true max effort exertion is, right? So if we're looking at RPE scale or rating of perceived exertion, or even reps left, like reps in reserve or RIR. But being able to look at those things and how they relate to younger or new trainees, being able to understand that most of them don't have a concept of what true max effort feels like. So there can be some limitations with RPE and reps in reserve training with young athletes. And it's not to say it doesn't work, but it's one of those things that you got to be mindful of. Conversely, being able to do percentages isn't also the best idea sometimes if you're going off of just raw maxes, right? And that's one of those things where you kind of have to work more in a technical max for most younger athletes and work up to as heavy as they can technically do soundly and safely compared to a true max weight, because a lot of times young athletes will figure out, and new trainees will figure out how to compensate and create movement deficiencies that allow them to move more weight, right? And they don't move in optimal positions. So you can't really, it's not really the smartest idea to sit there and try to max out, in my opinion. I think that's a right that you have to earn, but being able to understand that there's some things that you got to consider when you're working with new trainees if you're going to use RPE, RIR, or percentage-based stuff. If you really want to get into like some nitty-gritty stuff and you have the funds to work with velocity-based training, that shows a lot of promise for new trainees because we've kind of got those velocities that are based off of, you know, rep maxes, things like that, based on how fast the bar is moving. So yeah, just something to think about. RPE, it can work, but because a lot of kids don't really know what true max effort feels like, it might not be the best thing for young athletes or new trainees. That can extend even to the adult population. So just some thoughts for the day. Try to identify what you think is best. Obviously, I share what I think is best. Or not really best, but just things to consider. So be able to consider those things when you're implementing training for new athletes, new trainees, or younger athletes with limited experience. So just some things to think about today. And until next time, we'll see you in the passenger seat.